There we go. Awesome. And I'll go ahead and introduce Roberta as well. Thank you everybody for coming. My name is Lauren McCaskill, and I'm the program coordinator with Northwest Natural Resource Group. And today we're going to be talking about environmental education. And here today to talk to us about environmental education is Dr. Roberta McFarland. She's been an NNRG board of directors for, I believe, the last couple of years, right, Roberta? Or yeah,
Starting my
fantastic.
third year.
Oh, yay, exciting. Fantastic. And for even longer than that, you've been the senior advisor for the Outdoor Schools of Washington, and Roberta's been in outdoor education in the outdoor education space for more than 46 years. So quite an extensive background in outdoor education. So I'm excited to learn from you today and hear what you have to say.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So, welcome. I'm going to go ahead and start and share my screen pretty quickly here. And I hope that this becomes a conversation. It can go in a lot of different directions, and want to make sure I take it in directions that it works for each of you or for many of you. So, outdoor environmental education is about learning in nature, for nature, learning about nature. It has aspects of it is about sustainability education. It's also about possibly having adventures in the outdoors. So it's a field that's very broad. And the section that I was most into was the residential or overnight outdoor education, environmental outdoor education. And it was about bringing students into nature and immerse them for an overnight experience from 3 to 5 nights at a residential center, which might have been a summer camp, or it might be a place such as Waskowitz Outdoor School, which is owned and operated by the Highline Schools. They own and operate it purely to be an outdoor education program. But let's get started. So here I'm going to share my screen. And just think about how you all became, and I'm going to make the assumption that you enjoy being in the outdoors. You have an affinity for the environment, wanting to know more about ecology and wanting to learn. And where did that start? No, why isn't this working? There we go. Where did your first love of trees begin? Was it on a backpacking trip and having some adventures in nature? Was it sitting with your family looking at some beautiful place in a field? Was it hiking with friends near water on land? Or was it gardening with your family? Where did you begin your journey to have an affinity for nature? I'm going to stop that share for just a minute. And that, I think, is what outdoor environmental education, the more formal aspect it is. We want each and every student to have an opportunity to learn about, to immerse themselves in, and then to enjoy, and then want to take care of, want to learn how to conserve our natural resources so that they can keep us going. I'll, let's see. Oh, back to my share here. So there. And I think I really enjoy this quote, and it's that the future belongs to the curious. And curiosity is the fuel for discovery, inquiry, and learning. And I think that's why taking kids and immersing them outdoors, whether it's at a park, a nature center, a camp, a camping with their family, with their friends, with whoever, that is the beginning of having asking questions to learn more about the world around you. And so it can be done in a formal way, or it can be done with families. Outdoor environmental education takes place, or probably the first place it takes place is within the family when you go camping, when you go and do things. And this is something that I think we all believe. Everyone needs to hold a worm. I think that's the basis. It's the idea that worms are the ones that create our soil, and it's the cycles of life, and that they're the decomposers that help our plants grow. They're the ones that enrich the soil and enrich what we're learning here. So, I'll stop that little share, but that's basically what we do. Environmental education is about helping students have observations, and then from their observations, they can ask questions and learn uh, the real science behind how our world works, our natural world works, how ecology, their role in it as a human. And so, what are some questions you might have? Where would you like me to go on this? Um, if you have any, go ahead and unmute and just ask them. I can go from here. Or what are you curious about when it comes to educating students, educating adults about the outdoors, the environment, ecology, nature, any of that? Well, then, oh, here we go. Go ahead, Lorna.
Well, in a way, this is not so much a question as just in kind of offering this to people if they don't know about it. And that is, my husband and I have been on the farm where I grew up when I was 9 months old, and we're 73 now. But we were with my folks. We're in a program called it originally was called Willing Workers on Organic Farms.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then, yeah, WOOF. So I feel like that's really an important program for people to check out. And just as an aside, there's a program, there's a wilderness college not too far from here. It's called Alderleaf Wilderness College.
Yeah.
And have you heard of it?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Yeah, well, it's kind of cool because we've been kind of communicating back and forth, and we have 6 volumes of journals of all the people that have come to our farm, and I noticed the data about the college, and it turns out a guy named Eris from like Arizona or something went to his college, and then he came to our farm, or vice versa, and so left the brochure. And so the guy that's at Alderleaf said, wow, that's way cool. Anyway, so it was in 2013 that this guy was here.
Wow.
So we did stop being in the program when COVID came, because we thought that doesn't make sense for 70-year-olds to, expose yourself. But we still have a lot of them come. Anyway, and then there is another program that has been very fun too, and it's called Servas, Servas, which is mean peace. And that one, the people that came for that were coming from other countries kind of for just 2 days, mostly minimum. But once they got here, they kind of flipped over to being woofers.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of them too. But anyway, I want to share that and just say that it's been so good we have 125 acres, although it was quite a bit more actually when my parents were alive. And so it's been a wonder for my husband and I to work here, but also to see the amazing things that are in nature. And
yeah,
I do have it's kind of like a blog. I've been doing it since COVID, but about the beavers and that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and but it is fun to watch people learn stuff. I mean, some of the woofers that came here were fairly young, and they grew up, like their dad was a doctor or something, and they just didn't have their hands dirty or anything. It's kind of fun to show them how you
Yeah.
can just get right into it. So anyway,
And
that's what I share, and
yeah,
if it
thank you, Lorna.
stimulates
And
something.
I was going to say that I think the thing about environmental education, it can be informal, formal, and there's lots of opportunities to gauge all people, and where their food comes from is definitely part of the story or part of the profession, I guess you could say. Esther, you had wanted to say something? Your hand is up.
Yes, sorry, I'm figuring out how to unmute myself.
Oh,
I was just curious about what kind of opportunities there were or might be, which, I think Lorna just sort of maybe referred to some, but for those of us who have some land, maybe aren't educators, but would be willing to provide space for others,
yeah,
that have programs. What kind of what the
yeah.
issues might be around that, or the opportunities slash
Yeah.
issues? Yeah.
I would say, there may be opportunities to check in with your local school. In Washington State, and I know there's some folks here from Oregon as well, but the states, both Oregon and Washington, provided funding to increase the reach of outdoor environmental education across the state. And many schools, they are taking it. And unfortunately for both states, that funding saw an end for this school year due to all kinds of outside forces. But I would say your local school may enjoy a field trip to your site, possibly, or in Girl Scout, Boy Scout troops. They also do an awful lot of informal environmental education and that sort of stuff. So I would contact Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts. There are also the campfire groups, so that might be a way, and they do an awful lot of outdoor environmental ed. And also, if you know teachers that are near, they may be interested in coming out and hiking on your property, or that if it's close enough so that it doesn't have to be a long drive to get to those places. Um, Environmental ed, or Matt, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I did. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Mhm. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, first of all, I'm over in Eastern Washington, and I wanted to just get the congratulations with it. The NNRG has been a really wonderful resource for me for a number of years. I talked to Kirk Hansen years ago when I was involved with the Washington Farm Forestry years ago, and I ended up getting the newsletter, and it's been I really look forward to it every time it comes in. And so I'm over in Eastern Washington, and I manage 700 acres of timberland over here, and we're doing some different things stewardship wise and trying to move into some education stuff as well. I am a certified forest therapy guide, and the guiding that I've been doing so far has almost been almost totally adults.
Yep.
And I do think the importance of trying to get younger kids involved in getting them out in these forest therapy walks is just to me is a direction I like to head. And
Yes.
but dealing with younger kids is a little bit different scenario than dealing with adults. Um, different, you know, different
Yeah.
scenario. So I mean, it'll be a learning curve.
Yep. And I was going to say, so are you doing forest bathing? More or less, I guess the
Correct.
forest
Yeah.
therapy. Yeah, forest bathing.
Yeah.
That,
Of course, there.
yeah. The
Yeah. The forest bait. bathing is the term. The Japanese Shinrin Yoku is translated to forest bathing.
Yep.
The forest therapy is just I'm certified through it's ANFT. It's an Association of Nature Forest Therapy. And it's a worldwide association. That's the term that we like to use.
Yeah, that is a beautiful way to get students involved. And I will say that Washington State was the first state in the union to certify, accredit preschools. And there's an awful lot of forest preschools or nature preschools in our state, and that our state has certified them that they follow best practice, safe practices, and that sort of stuff. I also know when I had started an alternative high school, and we did, and these were inner city youth because it was with Highline Public Schools. And we took those students forest bathing. Now, I wouldn't say that needs to be their first introduction to nature because they need to feel comfortable in the forest. But once they learn to appreciate and feel that energy that the green provides for you, they were all in having what we call sit spots or quiet time or just sitting there and letting your mind roam. And it always ended, and that's why I said forest bathing, with a tea party, I guess, where we just drank it. Some tea quietly in a ceremony, and that was more of the Japanese kind of thing. The other is Steve Van Meter, who is another big environmental educator. He would have us sit with students and open an orange, and the orange represented the sun and the energy, and and a lot of analogies or metaphors were created with, again, time in nature and just immersing yourself in the warm green of the forest, I guess, through different avenues, and students respond. One of the things, there are so many studies, and I have I can give you a website at the end, but mental health is improved for students and adults when you have time in nature, and that's your forester therapy that you talked about. It piques curiosity. Students start looking beyond themselves and ask questions. We had one teacher, and she had been 30-year teacher and getting kind of tired of the classroom and all that kind of stuff. She came out and brought her students to outdoor school, and she goes, "Roberta, I went up there, and I'm almost embarrassed to tell you this, but I was exhausted. I was tired. So I just told the kids, go anywhere you want. You just have to be able to see me." And I just sat there. She said it was the best hour and a half of class she ever had. The students came back. Look, Miss Wooden, what I found. Look what this is. What is this? Look at how green this is. And they just came back. And this took a little while, but they just were finding things, and they couldn't wait to share these things with her. Some of the stuff she was able to say, "Why, that's fabulous. It's a blank." And some of it was, "I don't know what that is. Let's draw a quick picture of it and describe it so we can go back and look it up." But she said they went out there, and it was more or less free play or free exploration time. And the students were doing their own lessons and wanting to know more. So, piques curiosity. It improves comprehension when students are in the outdoors. And when it improves comprehension, they have better grades. My dissertation was with high school students that spent time in nature, and they graduated, and these were students that did not like comprehensive high school. So they chose to be in the program so that they could have more time in nature and work with the younger kids. But they had better grades than they started with, and they graduated high school, making up for all the failures they had as freshmen when they were there. And students, when they have time in nature in a group, and possibly on their own, but the studies have talked about in groups, they have better empathy for for other humans and other people. I mean, when you spend time on a trail and you're hiking and you have to climb over the big root or through the root, around some rocks, or you share an incredible, beautiful moment together, you're connecting with other people and you have more empathy for them. For some of it is, and I've noticed this with some of the younger kids, some of the biggest, they were probably bullies, you know, and our teachers tell us that these are kids that, oh, I had a hard time thinking I could bring them up to be out in the woods for a week. Um, they become someone who relies on um, the nerd kid, I guess I'll call it, because that nerd kid is willing to pick up the worm and the big bully doesn't want to touch it. And then all of a sudden, there's this exchange of a power dynamic in a really nice, genuine way. And the teachers will report back that, you know, once they have these shared common experiences, a lot of the cliques that naturally occur go away and they have a better community kind of a thing. The other thing that time in nature for youth is they start to realize that there's career pathways out there. And it's not just in forestry, but it could be with water hydrology. It could be with water quality. It could be with fisheries. It could be with, you know, studying just the earthworm or the, you know, the deer, the elk, something that is inspired by their time when they're young, investigating and realizing that they could do more of this when they're there. They also become a more engaged citizen and they make better decisions when they're given that choice. And it could be voting for the parks in, you know, their local community because they know that parks are important to them. They may be willing when they renew their driver's license to want to get that $30, which I guess is going up to $45, you know, state uh, access to all the state parks and that sort of stuff. I have so many students come back and say, I took my family camping and to the, or, you know, and that meant they went out and they did some sort of a picnic and did a hike. And I told them about the 10 essentials and how important it was to make sure we had all that stuff. And so it's just giving a lot of folks time to connect with something that's greater than them. And it really affects their life in ways that it's a lifelong way, learning opportunity and affects their life in so many different ways that hopefully we have a more sustainable planet, and a more sustainable community with each other when you get out and spend time in nature. Any other questions or share a little more? So while every student needs to, you know, hold a worm, that kind of a thing. Why can I not? Let's see. There it is. So the impact, and so for most of my career, it was all with youth. And the last 3 years, 3.5 years, it's been with adults and it's been with teachers predominantly, getting them outside so that they feel comfortable leading groups in nature. And these pictures are from the Spokane area, up in the far northeast area, Camp Gifford on Trout Lake, I believe. And then it's also been at in Ellensburg, some of these pictures are. And to down in the southwest corner, we were over at Ocean Park. There's a camp out there that we met in. But connecting with others and teachers, so the impact just grows. You know, you have that ripple effect. I throw the teacher then has their classroom, and then that goes out, and they will take kids out and come back and speak highly of it. And the relationships, and I guess whether it's with adults or with the students, the relationships they have not only with nature, but it's also their relationship with each other and with their communities as a whole. And I think it's super important. And just want to share this with you. So my environmental outdoor education has been mostly, as I was saying, the overnight outdoor schools where you spend a week in the woods. How many have that? I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute here. Hands up, or if you can do one of the hands up in the corner or something like that, or put it in the chat. How many of you attended a week in nature when you were in fifth or sixth grade or spent time in the outdoors? Washington State and Oregon have been doing it for a long time. Okay, Lorna had time, it looks like, in nature. Anyone else? Okay, excellent. Matt has. Yeah, I didn't do, oh, fifth grades. Oh, yay. 3 days works. Scott did it. Excellent. YMCA summer camps in the woods. Summer camps are an excellent way. Scott, looks like Scott's done it. Good. So some of you know what that means, but it is, and Dean's done it. Excellent. So what I'm going to share is, let me go back to my sharing. Start share. Oregon in, I think it was 2015 or thereabout. Yeah, it's been about, might have been 2016, 17. Oregon passed an initiative that they would use lottery funds, part of the lottery funds, to pay for outdoor education, residential, overnight environmental education for every student in the state to attend a week in nature. And Governor Inslee didn't like that Oregon started that. So Governor Inslee decided we needed to do that too here in Washington. And this is right at the end of the pandemic. It would have been 2021. I and several others lobbied or educated the legislator on how we could use that money. And they gave us some of the reinvest in elementary and secondary. So it was COVID dollars because we wanted to get kids outside where they could be healthier, not around all the germs that are inside. So some of that went for some schools to maybe develop some outdoor classrooms on their campus, but the good portion of it went to help bring students to these residential programs, these overnight programs. Well, it very successful, and that's what I was doing with those relationship building and those trainings. What the impact, which was training teachers so that they would feel comfortable bringing their students outside for a day or a week, kind of a thing. Well, some researchers from Clemson and from Virginia Tech heard about what Washington was doing, and they contacted me and said, hey, we want to write a National Science Foundation grant to study the outcomes when students spend a week in nature. And it took 2 full years to get this grant going, but in January, it pretty much started in January of 2025, where we brought together educators, classroom teachers, providers, those that work at these sites, folks from OSPI, the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction, which is basically the education department for Washington State, to say, here we have this amazing opportunity. Students are going to go with their class and spend a week in nature. What is it that we want to get out of that? The state is putting dollars towards it. Let's make sure the dollars are well used. So we got together and came up with outcomes for it, what we want to see. And so it's in the first year they did. So that was in January. They created a survey that it takes 7 minutes to complete, and did that, made sure that it was well vetted, I guess you could say. And so this fall they started doing that. And they're surveying students, start in the beginning, and then we're going to meet again in June of this year, and we're going to look at whose sites, each site's going to look at how well they did with the outcomes, the desired outcomes from all this data gathering. We surveyed over 7,000 teachers that said what they want to learn or what they want the students to come away with. And it's not all just scientific knowledge. It was also empathy. It was also the love of nature kind of a thing. And anyway, we'll keep informed. It's going to be done in 2028, and there'll be a national study. It'll be published, and hopefully that will encourage other states in the union to think about how they can create these wonderful educational opportunities for all students to have. So Oregon does it. They lost some of their funding this past year, as Washington did as well. But we're legislative. We have a rule, we have a law that says that this is important to do. So there's that. I'm going to see, and then go a little bit for next slide. Where's my next slide? I'm having a hard time moving these slides. There we go. It's my computer. Technology. I was an outdoor. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's going back. I want to go forward. Maybe that's my. I'm going to stop sharing. I think that was maybe my. Yeah, that was my last slide. No wonder it wouldn't go forward anymore, because I wanted to show. I want to show you. Any questions so far? Any comments before I move to the next little part? All right. Well, then let me share. Oh. This is Outdoor Schools Washington's website. And there's a lot of information here. And if you go for schools, gives you a lot training materials for all. There's resources. If you go to the resource page, it lists a lot of studies that have been performed on how it helps brief and literature reviews, the key benefits of outdoor learning, outdoor school, physical, mental health, learning, make outdoors learning your plan A, just the benefits of learning outdoors, learning in the environment, learning about the environment. So I recommend this page. And let me go back. And then what we've done in this state, and this is something for day programs as well as overnight programs, but it was originally for the overnight programs, created characteristics of a high quality outdoor school. So what are the key characteristics that make an outdoor school top notch, I guess you could say. And it was for programs and teachers to look at what they're doing, and is it following best practices? Is it going to engage the students? Are you taking advantage of what is out there? And it's different. Go ahead. Someone have a question?
You want me to do that?
Well,
Oh, you want to go over to?
Oh, so with the characteristics of the high quality outdoor school, it is saying, please do not stand and lecture to your students. This is a tree. This is, this is soil. This is that. It is saying, get your kids immersed in it and have activities that you open up that sense of curiosity, not close it down. And one of the things over those 3 years, we met with an awful lot of educators across the state and also talked to a lot of our native educators across the state. And this is a one pager that I will share. 7 seeds to plant at outdoor school, or 7 seeds to plant when you are environmental education. And it is becoming stewards of the land. Help them foster a sense of place and responsibility or belonging for their environment, for their neighborhood, whether it's the high plateau, the forest, the rainforest of the peninsula, or the dry highlands of, our Eastern Washington area, but help them to understand and care for the systems that we have. They should understand cycles. They can look at cycles. More than likely, they'll encounter rain, and to understand that it all flows down and what watersheds are, but to understand that. In talking with an elder from the Snoqualmie tribe, Warren Saylor, I asked him what was the most important outcome that we could have while they're there. And it was salmon. Throughout our entire state, salmon. They go up the Columbia to Eastern Washington. They go up many of our rivers and creeks and stuff. And a healthy forest, a healthy riparian zone gives us clean, fresh, clear water. So that salmon, which is huge in many of the tribes' story, their origins and history. So they need to, salmon for Washington State is crucial to understand the nature, the environment, who we are as Washingtonians, I guess. Career awareness, that they're out there learning and understanding the pathways of possibility, that they could have a job, and maybe it's leading backpack trips. Maybe it is understanding water quality, fisheries, forestry. When they're out in the forest, there are multiple opportunities to building confidence to tackle challenges. And oftentimes that could be on a hike. It could be their first time away from home. It could be in a foreign area. It could be holding a worm, could be one of their big challenges that they learn to tackle. Building strong connections with each other. And then the last thing, which our researchers, when I shared this with them, is discovering the joy, the happiness of being outside in the forest, and how all that time and play is really grounding for so many of our students. And I think that's a lot of the forest walks and that sort of thing that we talk about. Does that. It gives them a sense of peace, calm, and joy, that they feel good about being in nature. So this is also found on our website, so you can get that there. And let's see. Oh, I might go back. And I'm going to put, go back one more. I'm going to put this website in the chat if anybody would like to, just so you have it. But there are a lot of amazing resources on that website that'll bring you to many, many, many more. So here's this, and hopefully that link works for all of you. But that is a great resource that for a child. It'll be adult education as well, because a lot of that are resources for teachers, but I think, and then just to brag, Lauren here has created and enhanced a curriculum that I think for doing a learning about forestry and ecology of the woods. It will be online someday soon, I guess is the way to say
Yeah.
that I think would be an excellent resource for folks that own and manage forests, or folks that just like to spend time in a forest and want to learn more about what foresters do. So and that's environmental education, and it happens to be all online, not the preferred way, but sometimes it can be the only way. And that would be looking at the resources and then getting outside and putting into practice what you're doing. But it's definitely a fabulous resource with lots of great videos and pictures and suggestions to learn more in the woods. So any questions or comments or anything else?
What do I do?
You have a comment, question?
Yeah. Yeah, Lorna again.
Hi, Lorna.
Yeah, I really appreciate what you're talking about, and we don't have the youth right now, or who knows, we can maybe get some going. But I wanted to tell you too that I think it's important to get into some of the programs. And he talked about salmon. We have the Department of Fish and Wildlife salmon tech people walk the half mile of our Lucas Creek stream, and we have pretty good salmon. And me being here my whole life, I have watched the ebb and flow of the salmon, so that's been interesting. But we also have recently, and this is exciting, gotten some. A surveyor came out with Trouts Unlimited.
Yes.
And he walked 15 miles up into Weyerhaeuser, who has the end of Lucas Creek, and he saw no beaver dams. And in our half mile, we have 3. And he explained to me that they probably killed and trapped the beaver in Weyerhaeuser. And I admit, when I was young, my dad had trappers here. But and I told him, one of the things I've seen is so many more switchbacks and so many more areas where the water in the creek is just washed down, where it's just amazing. And he explained to me that it's important for the fish to have the beavers, because it keeps the sediments and their reds where they mate and stuff. And anyway, it's all exciting, and I it's like it would be a great field trip. Well, actually, come to think of our daughter was in a program in school for the high achievers or whatever, and they actually had salmon from the hatchery, and they let them off in our creek.
Yep.
So
and
that was
excellent example of environmental education. And it's there are so many organizations. You had mentioned Trout Unlimited and the Department of Fish and Wildlife. They have so many informational pamphlets. Their websites are filled with opportunities for environmental education for everyone. And I think what I am a big proponent and passionate about is, let's start our citizens early and often, getting as many opportunities as possible to explore, so that they want to learn more, so that they are voting or they're making decisions about their property based on science and what's real, and not on what might look good or be easy, sort of a thing. So, so please support all the efforts of the schools and the states as they work to get more and more students outside. Lizzie, do you have one? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I'm here in Southwest Idaho. I'm right over the border from Oregon. I can sometimes smell the Pacific, so I'll throw myself in with your lot. But our elementary school here just built a greenhouse, and
excellent.
I kind of raised my hand to help coordinate, outdoor environmental self-reliance gardening program there for an elementary school. I work full time. I'm a forester. I have 3 girls, and I go back and forth how to get things just started off the ground. It's just me. Do I dive in and start delivering the programming myself, or do I start by trying to find partners in our tiny 800 town community,
Yeah.
800-person community?
Yeah. And you know, I think that you try to find some partners, but if you talk about conservation education, which is part of it, maybe not use the word environmental education, outdoor or conservation education, you will find the hunters and fishers want healthy forests and they understand the ecology of the area and you will find folks to help. If there's a Rotary Club or a Kiwanis Club, some of the service clubs, they might have people power and some dollars to create an outdoor classroom where they have a trail going through it. That, you know, that sort of a thing. But Kiwanis's and a lot of the service clubs, Rotaries, Kiwanis, Lions Club, will often donate money for a community project like that, especially for students. So I admire, good luck. That sounds fabulous. And you can use some of the stuff on the resource page that I put in there to help you build the storyline or the narrative so that it can get done. But that's fabulous.
I guess one quick follow-up question. Another challenge is even just conservation is so broad, and locally people are really into self-reliance, gardening. Like, how do you start? You know, you just want to talk about everything. Ecosystems are never ending, but how do you start?
I would start, and depending on the age group, of course, but your garden is the perfect place because you're looking at systems, you're looking at cycles there. Then, are there any cycles in our forests? You know, I kind of try to, and the worms are the ones that are doing the soil rotation or breaking, you know, the beetles and the fallen logs.
Okay.
Just kind of building some metaphors over. And for students, just young students, how many different greens can we find? I wonder why they're different greens. How are the you know, and a darker green absorbs more light. The lighter green, you know, why does the ivy, and we don't want English ivy, but all right. So why do some trees crawl up a plant? That's their strategy. They're taking a friend and they're using it to climb up to get to sunlight. So you're just little things like that, the younger they are. And then the older kids, you make them figure out why it does what it does, why it's the different color.
How to learn about nature. You don't need to teach them every little fact.
Exactly, exactly. And then they'll start seeing cycles in everything. Oh, the rain cycle, the nutrient cycle, the carbon cycle, you know, that sort of a thing. It gives them a vocabulary to start thinking about it early until, and then all the way through. Then they become you, a forester.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I actually have a question too. Are there a lot of differences that you notice between adult education and educating children of different ages, or where do you see the biggest like shift
That's a
in
great
the differences with that?
Yeah. You know, adults when they're getting out into nature, if they haven't spent a lot of time in nature, are just as apprehensive as some of the mostly fifth, sixth graders and older. Little kids dive right in and they're ready to get dirty. I mean, I have a picture of my daughter. She's 4 years old and we're moved up here and never seen a slug before. And she had 20 slugs. She picked them all up and could care. She's now 32 and you can't get her near a slug, you know, because whatever. But so I think that a lot of time there is very little difference in that. I think adults, they're coming and they're choosing to be one of your students, possibly. So I don't have to work as hard to kind of get their attention in on something. But once after the first day with students, usually they are keyed in and they can't wait to hear and learn and get involved more. But adults, I think, they tend to ask more questions as well to begin with and want to learn, and but they will jump in just as hard, just as well. Yeah, and play some of the silly games. I like playing silly games, and people laugh and have fun, so they have an affinity for nature again. Singing around a campfire at night, and then stars, or even just looking at the moon filtering through the clouds, magical times for adults and kids alike. Matt, you had a question, I think, or a comment.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to comment about the way you're talking about some of the, training some of the teachers and the importance of not going out there and identifying things, allowing the kids to, be curious is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, just really, and yeah, that's what the forest, explore your senses to be able to be more
Yes.
curious about what you're smelling, seeing, tasting, touching,
Yes.
all the above.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very cool. Yeah. Um, there was something else I was going to mention. Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but yeah, I think it's really a great path, the schools of the outdoor schools of Washington. That sounds like it's got a great start.
We have a great
And
start.
I
We
know,
ran out of
yeah,
funding, but we're hoping
I,
it'll be back in a year or two. Won't be this year, but hopefully the year after, because things are tight. Things
yeah,
are tight, and it's unfortunate.
sure.
That doesn't mean schools still aren't doing it. Just means we have a lot less support to help them in their journey. But we've had 3 years of
Sure.
training, and a lot of teachers took advantage of that. And so we're hoping that they'll keep it going, and then we'll build up the momentum again in a couple of years.
Yeah, the one thing I remembered what I was going to mention is we're talking about kids and adults, and most of the guiding that I've done so far, like I said, was adults, and it is very interesting how quite often many of the adults are, when they were younger, have spent time outdoors when they were
Yes.
younger. But as they got older, they didn't spend time outdoors. So you
Right.
get them outdoors and kind of exploring things a little bit. All of a sudden, they're a kid again, and it's just
Yes.
pretty cool
Yes.
to see what memories it brings up. Yeah,
Yes, it is. The memory research too on that. And it's the smell. Something will trigger their youth back, and they just smile. They're out there just smiling, and it's that sense of
yeah,
joy that
exactly.
yeah, for everyone, which yeah, just really magical.
Yeah, can I share one? I had my
Yeah.
son-in-law here for a forest therapy walk last summer, and he's a guy that I didn't really think how he's going to navigate what I was doing, and he's 50, and we did some things, and he all of a sudden he was so excited that what we were exploring, he thought about this fort that his father built for him back when he was a kid, had moss on the roof, and he,
Yep.
he said he had thought about that in over 30 years. So
Yep.
pretty cool. That was, yeah, really
That
a
is
nice
very
affirmation
cool.
about what was going on
Yep. It's interesting. So in Highline, highly diverse, a lot of recent immigrants from many war-torn countries and stuff, and bringing out some of the leaders within these communities, whether Somalian or some South American countries. Anyway, they came out there and they said, "Oh, the birds. I miss, because they're living in the inner city now. I miss seeing birds. Oh, this bird is like the bird I used to listen to when I was a student." Or I want my students to have, or my family, my kids, my children, to have that same sense of place about their new home country that I have about the country I was raised in. I want them to know the birds, the animals, the trees, the plants of their new country. So they were, it was really nice to hear that it's, we want to be and know our community, our country, our state. We want our kids to get to know the birds, the plants, and the trees because that grounds them in that sense of place and who they are, which is really nice. So, yeah, for everybody, nature is a common thread. I think that we all rely on it. We need it to breathe our air and, build our homes and all that. So why not really understand it more than just what that is? But yeah. Well, thank you all for coming and listening. Yeah, find ways to get involved in your community possibly or see what opens up. But when you hear there's outdoor school going on, you know, enjoy it or praise it or celebrate it. I'm not sure which. And, Lizzie, good luck to you. Matt, keep on those walks. Those are the best thing. Bring people to your forest. And it does ripple out. The more we know and understand and appreciate and have an affinity for, the better our communities are, the stronger they are.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Roberta, for taking the time to talk to us today.
You're welcome. You're welcome. My pleasure. Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you,
Well,
everybody.
bye, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone.